Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I know I'm hard-headed, but when someone makes a claim, I would like to see the evidence presented and you make your case. And I will ask questions if I have, certain things that I don't understand. I need details, and then I will probably bring some counter-arguments that you will refute or we're going to take into consideration, and we're going to find out whatever the truth is. So, we've been hearing that Russia and its energy sector is very much destroyed because of the sanctions that we imposed on ourselves. That's my assessment, more than on them. And I'm not talking about the United States now, I'm talking about the European Union in general, as the primary loser, and Russia, which found other markets. So, we've been hearing that, they capped the oil, the Russian oil, they placed sanctions, they did this, they did that. Oh, okay. Now, let's see how the energy sector is doing in Russia, shall we? I have some numbers for you. Now, the numbers come from the Russians. Oh, whoa, I know they're lying, right? Why? Oh, because that's their interest? Then that means that when Ukrainians say something, I should say they're lying because it's their interest? Or when the Americans say something, I say, well, they're lying because that's the interest. I mean, you know what I mean? If you know what I mean, let's find out what happened. I'm just going to read a few things from the Russians, and I'm pretty sure this is information that was not only coming from the Russians, but I picked it from the Russians because they were quick to provide it. So, Russia Today. June 2nd, 2023. Russian oil giants' profits soar amid sanctions. Rosneft first quarter revenue increased beyond an analyst's expectations. That's not surprising to me, because analysts nowadays are not objective observers of reality and plan accordingly and reach the obvious conclusions. No, they are subjective, make-believe, and all that, hacks. They are just activists. That's what they are. Net profits of Russia's, and why do I say that? Because Russia did not collapse yet economically, politically, militarily, and its currency is still there. So, all that was, foretold by our experts in the West. That will happen about 2 or 3 weeks after we start placing sanctions on the Russians. The Russians will collapse without us. We'll just die. Because they're weak, and we are the center of the universe, and they cannot find any other markets. I mean, this was as I said, ideologies, man, ideologies. Yeah, it didn't happen. And this is one of the proofs. Why? There's a big world out there, and we think we are the center of it. We might be to a certain extent, but we have our limitations. As a countries, as organizations, institutions, we have our limitations. And this is to show United States that its hegemony is not as powerful as they thought. I think they got into a little fight with the wrong enemy. It's not one that you can just do like this. And the problem with that enemy has other friends, and other friends is not isolated as these guys try to convince us. We isolate everybody else. Well, there are 40 countries. You isolate what? The rest of 153? Since we have 193 countries. Is that what it is? Yeah. All right. Okay, that's delusional. So, net profits of Russia's largest oil producer, Rosneft, jumped by 45.5% in the first quarter of this year compared to the previous 3 months, hitting 323 billion rubles, which is $4 billion, due to the raise in output the company announced this week. Now, we don't have to accept this as face value, 45.5. We don't have to, okay? Analysts polled by the Interfax had expected the figure to be far smaller at 2.9 billion, which is still a lot dollars. So 3 billion versus 4 billion, it's still a lot. But anyway, oil and gas production in the first quarter increased by 0.8%, so 1%. From October to December, exceeding 4 million barrels per day. Rosneft reported production of the Sakhalin-1 project in Russia's Far East jumped by, brace yourselves, 180% quarter to quarter. Yes, demand increased, supply increased. The company's CEO, Igor Sechin, however, warned that operations would be further impacted by Moscow's decision to reduce its oil output by 500,000 barrels per day, or about 5% in order to bolster global oil markets. Because Russia cares about those guys from OPEC, they work together in tandem. And I'm quoting, while the cut did not have much influence on the first quarter of 2023 results, it will have a strong impact on the results of the following quarter, he warned. Rosneft attributes the raise in profits to increasing energy sales to India and other, and I'm quoting, friendly states. India, the world's third largest crude importer, ramped up purchases of Russian oil shortly after the start of Moscow's military operation in Ukraine and the ensuing Western sanctions. New Delhi has repeatedly stressed that energy security is its top priority. It has chosen not to succumb to Western pressure and has continued to stock up on Russian supplies. Even after the G7 price cap on Russian oil came into force late last year. Sachin said recently that Moscow and New Delhi had agreed to, and I'm quoting, substantially increase the supply of crude oil to India and diversify its grades. Well, this is only one. You can say, well, it's just one, but it's enough. And we've been at it, 1 year and February, March, April, May. And it's 15 months. It's more than 15 months, let's put it this way, 15 months. And in 15 months, they didn't collapse. And they imposed 11 rounds of sanctions. I mean, this is like this. Let's say I'm fighting against the neighbor. I have two options. One, to start slowly, and one to throw everything at it, like a shock, and destroy him. But if he resists my shock, I'm done, because that's all I had. Well, if I start increasing, that means something doesn't work. So I start with little, and I say, well, I'm going to add more sanctions. That means the first one did not do the job. That's why I need to increase it. It didn't work the second one, the third one, fourth one, fifth. All these sanctions did not work, since you have to add them together, one after another, 11 times. But I think the 12th time will be bring the charm, or whatever these guys are calling it, will be the charm. Yeah, we'll do it the 12th time, or maybe the 25th time. These guys are exasperated because they thought the first round of sanctions with, gas, and then with SWIFT, that was a big blow. They thought that Russia's going to be done with the SWIFT. Oh my God, kick Russia out of SWIFT, payment system, you're done. Banking didn't happen, did not happen. And now what? You're at 11 set of sanctions. That tells me that the other 11s did not work. You're going to go to the 12s now. All right, well, one of the definitions of insanity. Doing the same thing and expect a different outcome. Okay, more sanctions. I'm not saying you can't go on with sanctions, but there's going to be an end to it. You can't sanction because you don't have anything else to sanction anymore. You can't. That's all you got. And why don't they just throw everything? Because they're going to hurt themselves, that they will create such a crisis in their own countries that they will be toppled with pitchforks and with torches. That's why they don't do it, and they do it slowly. For the weasels, not to get to, I want to watch the view here on the TV. Click. Give me the beer, honey. Okay. Don't bother me. I'm very busy right now with Whoopi Goldberg. Yeah, that's a state. That's a state. Thank you very much for being with me again today. And these guys are fighting the Russians. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just, unfortunately.